Well, hello there, sir. I've got a good topic for us today. This one kind of popped up on my radar earlier this week, and it's, rich versus poor, but I'm not talking about money. And a lot of people think success is tied around money, and that's not always the case. Usually it's when you focus on other things that move the needle, the money follows, but that's not where success is. You got to be successful in other areas. And I think today, just what I see, people I follow on social media and people I talk to and what they really want in life and different ideas of success and perceptions of it and whatnot, most people talk about time. And so I think the topic for today is time rich versus time poor and how that differs from wealth in a financial and monetary sense. What do you think?
I love the topic. Loved when you sent it over, and I think it's bang on. We always talk about money it is a scorekeeper. It's an enhancer, and it is a store of energy, how we get things done, and gives freedom. Not going anywhere without it, right? It's not speaking on this podcast that it's a non-issue, but I think you're bang on in regard to currency, time, and if you accumulate all the answers to success that we've gathered on the podcast, it almost always comes back to who you're spending time with, what you're spending time doing, and having that flexibility being the real summary of a successful life. So I love this. And I love that we're also, to me, it's energy as well. They go hand in hand. There's not one without the other, but your time and energy are the real currency that we're looking to measure and trying to improve on day to day.
Yeah. And I mean, just to kind of give you an idea of like the core concept here is like, beyond your income, the reason why this is, you think about like baby boomers and the, industrial age and the workers and, you work your 9 to 5 and then you come home to the family and then you wake up and you do the same old routine and all that kind of stuff. And obviously with AI and internet and everything that's changed in the last 25 years with technology and whatnot is you have more, there's more opportunity to be flexible with your schedules. And so the strongest prediction of happiness and joy in someone's life is time affluence. And like, do I have the ability to go to my kids' basketball games, if I'm a business owner or if I have a job somewhere, a career, do I have that time? Do I have the time to take my spouse, my wife on a date on a Wednesday night? Or do I have to put all of my time and energy into my career? And so it's like that, gone are the days, in my opinion, the work-life balance. Like I don't spend 8 hours, 10 hours a day just on work, shut it off, and then go spend the next 3 hours on personal life. And it's like, no, it's not, there's no cut off or shut off or balance. It's work-life integration. And how do we build 24 hours of the time that we have in our day to make it all flow in a meaningful and positive way where we're getting the outcomes that we want? But it's more about, do I have the flexibility and can I create a life that gives me the flexibility to focus on my work, my career, my vocation, as well as the things that I want to do personally, and do I have the ability to do it with whoever I want, whenever I want, can I make those decisions? And so I think that is the real currency, as we're talking about, or definition of what success looks like for a lot of people, is having that time. Whether you make $100,000 a year or $100 million a year, it doesn't really matter. If you're spending 80 hours a week working on something to make $100 million a year, I guarantee you the person that's earning $100,000 a year and has all the time in the world to spend with the people that they love is going to find more happiness in the person earning $100 million a year. So I think it's just an important topic and something that needs to be continued to reminding people of that money is not the end all be all. And it's how do you spend your time wisely to find happiness and joy in this one life that you have?
Absolutely. And I think because it's ever present, right? You can't go to too many conversations or gatherings without it coming up, like the cost of going out to eat. We've talked about it a lot. What it costs to go have a meal out comparative to what it was before. Some of the things that you buy weekly that you notice the increase on. We talk about wasting money and how we're allocating our money differently these days, but we're not talking about how we're managing the currency of time or wasting energy in the same way. And when you start framing it like a currency and budgeting, right, like you do with your finances, I think you can make some shifts, and there's some things that are glaring that you can change to live a more, just like we're trying to live financially fit, being fit with our energy and our time. So we're not here for a long time, right? In the words of our friend Donahue, not here for a long time. Here for a good time.
For a good time. One of the best Donahueisms. He's got like 12 or 15 of those.
Get him on.
I know we do got to get Donahue. He just retired. He's having fun. For the listeners who don't know Kevin Donahue, this guy travels the world. He's got every page in his passport stamped. I think he's gone through like 14 passports because he keeps stamping them so much. He needs new ones. But Justin Welsh, the solopreneur, Saturday Solopreneur. He writes a newsletter, Saturday Solopreneur. He helps people launch their own, independently owned businesses, right? And I'm all about it. I think every single person has the ability to earn an income online or do something, offer a service or a product or whatever without the need of a team or like a full blown enterprise that we think of, what a CEO or a big company corporation would be. And there's many opportunities, especially with that rise in gig work and Ubers and DoorDash and all, and earning income on the side and all that kind of stuff. I think solopreneurship is only going to grow. But I follow him on Instagram, and he says there was this post, and it kind of was the catalyst to wanting to talk about it. He says, I never focused on being wealthy. I just wanted to work less, help thousands of people, explore hobbies, spend time outside, cook with my wife, exercise a lot, and avoid silly meetings. So I optimized for life, not money. The money took care of itself. So all he did was focus on, it's such a good one. And all he did was focus on the things that he absolutely wanted out of this life. And what's interesting is like, okay, I can focus on those things, sure, but how am I actually going to earn anything to to remain stable or be able to afford food and like put a roof over my head and all that stuff? Like, well, when you are carving out this time, it allows you to have far more creativity, far more ability to you have better energy when you're focused on your health. It gives you the opportunity to go meet new people, and you're not tied to meeting after meeting after meeting, like in a corporate sense or whatever. So you're optimizing for the life that you want. And the money's not going to come right away. I mean, he even says like in the early days, like just like with anything, it doesn't come right away. But over time, you build a community and people start working with you and partnering, and then the money follows. But I think it's really important, and a cool thing for him to say is like, this is what I optimized for, and the rest of it kind of just took care of itself. And I think in the grand scheme of things, like that's what life is all about. Like we should be striving to figure out what does my perfect day look like, and just try to do that every single day, and let the rest of it work itself out.
Yeah, it's so good. And one of the things that comes to mind is a friend of the pod, Jeremy Clevin, who's brought the real concept of abundance to Junto, and loved when he made that kind of a key pillar when he was contributing a number of meetings ago. But from an abundance mindset, you can argue that money, currency, dollars are infinite, right? We print it.
Right.
There are ways to create value and gain more money. Time is not that way. Neither is energy. It's finite. Every year you get older, if you're not putting in the effort to maintain the vessel and increase your capacity from an energy wise, your energy goes down too. So why do we treat a finite resource differently than we treat, almost neglect it more than an infinite resource? And that's another reframe that I was thinking about as we prepared for this podcast.
Well, and you bring up a really good point, is if you value your time, you're also saying no to most things. Like another friend of the pod, Casey Strunk, he was a guest, and he talks about, he's like, I'm not going to go spend an hour and a half coffee meeting with somebody that I don't know to try and earn maybe one or two referrals. I'm going to have a 15-minute conversation just to see if we even are a fit. And if we are, then maybe we'll take it to another level. But if not, like it's a phone call and done. Like I'm not blocking out 90 minutes for somebody I don't know if I don't even know if it's going to be a fit for us to even have a collaborative conversation. And so that's someone who values their time so much, because it is not infinite. And it's like, I've only got a little piece of it. And I've got my family, I've got my business, I've got my team, I've got the things that I care about that I need to work on for myself. And if something's going to get in the way of that, I got to be really certain that this is going to help both of us in a positive way. And if I'm not 100% certain, then I'm going to just give a little bit of time to find that out. And then we'll move on to the next level of what this could turn into.
Absolutely. And I think that for me, it's pretty evident. You don't connect these dots until you're hammering away on the journey and kind of reflect. But it's why my map to everything and the reward is really a life of flow. I want to be in flow state when I'm working. Time dilates and I get more of it. There's more of a return on my time there. I want to be in flow in my conversations, in my relationships. I want it to be seamless and effortless action that is rewarding. And that's what really fires me up and is a beauty of life, or finding those states, and they're fleeting. So what do I need to do? It's definitely not money. More flow state for me equals more money. That's obvious, but it takes serious life design to get to those states because it's not as easy when you say effortless action. It requires struggle to get into those states and do the right things to make sure that you're able to hit those points of flow, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not like you're not doing nothing. So if someone sees you carving out an hour to do cave day work, or carving out, like, you're off the grid, like I'm out of office for on a Friday afternoon, those days are long gone where we're out of the office on a Friday afternoon doing jack shit. Like we're carving out 4 hours because it's meaningful 4 hours of what we are working on or what we're trying to accomplish or whatever. Right. Or it's spending time with the person that we need to spend time with. Yeah. Connection, whatever. A good example of this is Tim Ferriss. We're big fans of his, and he talks about the 4 hour work week. I don't know if there's such thing as a real 4 hour work week, but you can label it what you want. The purpose and the point it's the lifestyle that you want to create space for flow or new ventures or whatever. Like you're not just the one thing that you do. And I think all people have an ability, and they're already doing many things. But how do you carve out the time, the space to really hone in on a lot of and become skillful and better at some of those crafts and some of those new businesses or new ideas? And how do you can't create and you can't ideate around any of that stuff if you're constantly overworked or burnt out or unhealthy and coming home and watching Netflix for 2 hours. Like, there's another thing that says, okay, I'm not going to start a business because I don't have $500, but I got $1,000 to go buy a new iPhone. What are your priorities? I'm not going to go to the gym because I don't have any time, but I just spent 2 hours on a Friday evening watching Netflix and about to flip on the next episode. You know what I mean? Like, so it's your priorities. And we don't, as we continue to mention in this episode, is it's not infinite. So you've got to value that time and focus on the longevity and the legacy and the things that your perception of what you want the rest of your life to look like. And it starts now.
From those examples that you just put out, it's kind of, we have to have a filter to pass these commitments through. It's like, run it all by a filter. And the more that you can automate this and make it a part of your operating and clear thinking processes, do I want to do this thing? Am I going to have the time and energy for it? And is it mapping to what I truly want? Or is it an obligation? Or is it an escapism to make myself feel more comfortable as opposed to getting what I truly want? And that is unnecessary suffering, which is what I am trying to avoid. Suffering is not optional, but unnecessary suffering, that is what we can remove. And it's that overcommitment and lazy thinking and avoidance that I think that this time and energy is what we're trying to solve for.
Yeah. I mean, to give you, so here's some like examples of what being time poor is. It's that burnout, right? It's that grind culture that was cool 10 years ago. That's no longer cool because the people that were in that grind culture are completely burnt out if they're still doing it. Like I fully understand when you're starting something from scratch or starting from new, like you really don't have much of a choice. Like you have to go all in and you got to spend every waking hour focused on getting that thing off the ground. That's not what I'm talking about. But what I'm talking about is like, once you're established, if you're putting in 80 hours a week or 60 hours a week and you're boasting about it, thinking it's like, oh, I'm successful because I work this much. Like, dude, I don't care if you make more money than I do. I work 25 hours a week and get to spend time with my family and not miss games. Like that to me is more important than, all the other hours, so time poor is where you have work demands or career demands that take away from the things that you actually love to do, your passions, your projects, your family, all that stuff. And you're constantly checking email or Slack, or you're more reactive than proactive. You're not planning your day. You're just showing up and all of a sudden something comes in and, whatever you're working on, the next shiny object, and you're moving over here. Like nothing is really scheduled or organized, and you're time poor because next thing you know, it's 3 p.m. and all you've been doing is answering emails and you haven't actually done anything.
Back-to-back Zoom calls.
Yeah.
That are just avoiding and delaying, kicking cans down. Circle back. Oh yeah, we'll cover this on the next one. What did we just do? Like, right. Time poor to me is a bunch of my, calendars color coordinated, which I imagine most people are. If not, you're missing out there. But for my color, if I see a bunch of blues on the calendar, that day is already, okay, we need to play some Tetris here and carve out the deep work, because a bunch of blues means for me, there's going to be a lot of planning and not needle moving, and making those adjustments it's a continuous effort to make sure that time's productive.
Yeah.
And it's not optimizing just to optimize. It's what actually matters. What is actually, when you talk about stacking good days, that simplification of, can I condense this year down to a good day, and what activities is going to make that a good day? Make sure we knock those things out. And then you can rest your head at night on the pillow knowing that you at least hit the major items of what a good day and a good life looks like.
Yeah. And I think the way you just nailed it, the way to go from time poor to time rich is you go through that audit and you figure out what is, what are the $10 tasks that I'm doing, and what are the $10,000 tasks that I'm doing? We've heard a lot in Junto and other areas, like if you're still doing $20 an hour work, you're not scaling appropriately. You can't scale appropriately. And then obviously we're talking about, business sense, but what are those tasks that you can delegate, outsource, find tools for, that you're still doing, that gives you more time in your days, that you can focus on the bigger ticket items, to continue that growth? Or develop like you said, a stop doing list. Like, as much as you figure out what you want and what you're doing, like, what are the things that you're doing that you don't love? And like, okay, well, can I stop these things? Like, why am I checking my email at 7:30 in the morning? Like, why don't I check it at 9? Like, can I spend the first hour and a half of my day, like, in a session of flow state, working on projects and things I need to take out, or meditation, or whatever it is, go on a walk, whatever? Can I carve that time? And then I'll check email from 9 to 10 or whatever. And then block out my calendar till noon to work on other items. And, setting up those boundaries is another key thing. It's like having the communication and putting blocks, and saying, I'm unavailable during this time. You don't have to give, unless you've got a micromanager or a boss that requires it, or, clocking hours that requires it. But for those that don't, like, you don't have to give a reason. Like, just, you've got it all blocked on the calendar. You're working on your job's getting done. You're getting the projects done or whatever. But you got to time block it, and you got to build that schedule.
And what you're talking about there is like an anti-vision too. We talk about this ideal day. What's your anti-vision? What is a time and energy currency? How do you not want to spend that time? And that helps you map to, it's that inverse thinking, right? Charlie Munger going with the inverse. What's a bad life look like? What's a bad day look like? And reversing those, the not to-do list, that helps you guide it, and it helps you flip your brain in regard to, okay, if I'm overly focused on doing XYZ, how about I just don't do what I don't want? That isn't worded the best, but it goes back to the anti-vision. Focus is not doing distraction. Recovery is not wasting energy. And again, it takes thinking to actually reflect on and being present, not just going with emotions and being reactive.
Yeah. And you bring up a really good point, because let's say, like, in your personal life, like the things that I don't want, like, I don't want to be, I don't want to be a grandfather who can't run around with his grandkids, right? So I want to be able to focus on my health, and what are the things that I'm doing that are not giving me the energy to focus on my health. And so, kind of transitioning in some of our notes here, moving from time rich versus time poor, like, what about energy rich versus energy poor? What are the things that are driving higher levels of energy, and what are the things that are driving lower levels of energy? And jotting those items down and figuring out what I need to stop doing that's driving low levels of energy, and what do I need to continue or add more of to drive higher levels of energy. Sleep, restoration, calmness, focused work, not distraction, healthy foods, cutting back on the alcohol, whatever it is, right? Like, all those types of things drive your energy levels one way or the other. And if you know where you want to be 20 years, 30 years, 40 years from now, it all starts right now. You got to figure out how do I become energy rich and time rich, and it all will flow together. Because now, when you're energy rich and you've got clarity and you've got a lot of energy, all of a sudden you feel like there's a million hours in the day to accomplish a million things. And that goes back to flow. How many things can you accomplish in 1 hour that you couldn't do, that you didn't think you could do in 2 days, in 48 hours, because you're in flow. And so you're able to accomplish that in much less time.
And I think along with flow, and they go hand in hand, it's become a key pillar of my life, and a North Star is essentialism. Like, doing less better, and the art of carving away and removing it. It's it really is happiness when you are you're trimming the fat, you're removing the excess, and it's just, you're lighter, you're moving better, you're thinking better, more present. And it's what is essential. And it is so easy to let it slip away and let things get cluttered and stock up and saying yes to too much. It
Yeah.
really is a constant discipline, and also giving yourself grace when it piles up, to do the audit and know that you have to dig yourself out and get back to those principles. So I know these conversations are a great reminder for me, putting this in practice.
Yeah, they're big reminders for me as well. And especially like, I don't know, for me, for like the weekend stuff, like especially if we don't have tournaments and like kid stuff going on, and like let's say we have a free weekend, like Kimberly and I will be like, all right, we're not committing to anything. Like let's give it some time to breathe. Like let's see what comes our way. We're not going to plan anything. We're not going to tell the kids we're planning anything. We're just going to leave it open, and something will come up. It always does, or we'll come up with an idea to go do something fun or whatever. But we don't want to ever overcommit. And even when the first thing comes, we're like, yeah, we'll get back to you. Like we don't commit when we have an open weekend. Like for us in our life and the way the chapter we're in right now, free weekends are very, very far and few in between. Like we don't get many, so we leave them as open. Yeah, we leave them as open for as long as possible until because we value that time and that free. Like, what do we want that weekend to become and look like? And so we really do take it as a sacred couple of days to how do we want to spend that time? And so that's something that we do, instead of just saying, oh, I got a free weekend. Yep, I'm going to go do that thing. Or I'm going to, someone asked me when I was talking to them about alignment and saying no to more things. And they were like, what? Well, give me an example. Like, what do you say no to that you didn't say no to anymore? And I know you're not going to like this answer, but it was one word, and it was golf. I say no to golf now because I want those 4.5, 5 hours of my Saturday morning or Sunday morning or whatever, because of the time.
Now you're just talking crazy. I can't.
I'm telling you, this is my own personal. I know you don't like the answer, but that's an example, right? Like, what are the things that you got to cut out in 100%. Order to create the time for what works for you in your life? And so for me, it was golf. I don't want to spend 6 hours on a Saturday doing that anymore. And so I'd rather spend the 6 hours focused on my family or doing, building something else or whatever. Like that's it for me. But that's the example. So what are the things that you're doing that no longer serve you in a way that makes you continue, happiness? I'll still hang out with you, Phil. We'll go, chop it up, but it just won't be on a 5-hour golf course anymore.
Oh, I got you out for 5 hours.
You did. That's my annual golf trip, but that's the example, right?
Well, again, this is your listener's reminder. You probably, if you're listening to this, you have your budget on lock. You're monitoring your expenses and figuring out how you can earn more money. But how are you spending your time? And are you actually evaluating it, or are you doing it day by day without a plan and hoping that you say no to the right things? Again, I think it's a good time for a journal, writing things down, ingraining them into your subconscious mind, and really being intentional on what we're saying yes to, what we're saying no to, as we're not getting any more of it. That's for darn sure.
100%. It's a great way to close. You can shift from time poor to time rich anytime. You nailed it on the head with being intentional. It's just identifying it, and focusing on the things that matter. So like, subscribe, follow. We love to hear from you guys as well. Feel free to comment on Spotify or YouTube. And if you have any topic ideas or anything you want to learn more about, shoot it our way. As always, we appreciate you. We'll be back at you next week.